Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddey underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up? Welcome to the Uncontested podcast. They effing did it. We are coming to you live as the Thunder have defeated the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans, 123-118 in the 10-9 matchup of the play-in tournament. No 10 seed had won a play-in tournament game to date. Tonight happened twice as the Oklahoma City Thunder go into New Orleans and get a win. I'm your host, Jacob Niffen. I've got JD with me.
Fellas!
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
I've got Taylor with me.
It's been a while, but I've got a feeling.
Oh my god, I'm gonna listen to that shit on the way to work tomorrow for sure.
I mean, I couldn't play it via Spotify because we've gotten flagged now that we're kind of like, low key big time. But
Meek Leak is the chief degenerate in the chat.
Oh, man, he is. Chief
says thanks for all the amazing content this year, fellas. Appreciate you all. Shout out to the degenerates in the chat. Let's go all the way to the playoffs. We got so much to talk about. My Apple Watch recently told me to take a Valium because my heart rate was so damn high. Woo! There's no outline. This is ad lib. No rules. We're going Bill O'Reilly. Do it live tonight. JD, just first thing. Big thought. I don't care what it is.
First big thought, my Nostradamus segment from our In Thunder Studios show where I said Josh Giddey was going to be a top performer in this game and show out in his first playoff game came true. He was incredible. Let me see what his final line was. 30 points.
I got you.
Thank you.
Josh Giddey, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, a block. 1 rebound shy of a 30-point triple-double.
In his first postseason game at 20 years old. And he kept it, most notably, he kept the team afloat when SGA had a rough first half. Josh was there.
11 of 22 from the field for Josh. 3 of 7 from 3. He took an off-the-dribble 3 when someone went under the screen. Dude, I about blacked out, pooped my pants at the same time. Like, this man. Let's rewind the clock a little bit, Taylor. Back to Thanksgiving. This most recent Thanksgiving, mid to late November. When the questions of, has Josh regressed? Can Josh and Shai play together?
What a time that was.
In freaking credible. Josh Giddey tonight
was his best game of the season, I think, without a doubt. And that's really saying something. I mean, I understand that, we've talked a lot about how underrated Josh Giddey's season has been. I feel like we've done a really good job about that here, even, throughout the last stretch here of the regular season. But man, tonight, like you guys mentioned, his first quote unquote postseason appearance. I understand it's not playoffs, but he sure treated this game like it was a playoff game. I mean, I just cannot say enough about Josh Giddey. But there's other players here as well, right? Like, I even tweeted this out. I would eat my crow when it comes to Dort. I thought Lou was just phenomenal, keeping this team afloat particularly in the first half. We did not end up getting a Dorty 40. He ended up going for 27 points after scoring 20 in the first half. But man, I mean, what Lou was able to do, he was decisive. That is the word I have for Lou tonight. You all can go back and listen tonight. Some of you even tweet at me. You can go and listen to the post games, the group podcast over the past 2 weeks. The one thing that I really wanted from Lou that I'm not sure I was able to like truly articulate was decisiveness, and he was able to do that tonight. I understand he didn't have the opportunity to quite like he was able to in the second half, like he was in the first. But man, I thought Lou was also fantastic, just like Giddey was. And we have Justin live from Chicago.
Live from the chai. We got Justin in the chat.
I'm just coming to crash the stream because I'm so psyched right now.
Dude,
What
yes.
a
I'm on a work trip. I was at dinner with my client. I've had a lot to drink. I was watching the last couple minutes on my phone. I have no analysis I can add to this game, but I just wanted to be here and like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Man,
I watched the highlights. Scott Van Pelt was gushing. Shai took over. Dort played well on the road. Big vibes.
to start the game, Lou Dort had 8 of the first 10 points for the Thunder in this game. Thunder felt a little over their heads, a little bit of struggle to start this game. Quick timeout, came out and just put their foot down on the gas, went on a 10-0 run. It was back and forth. You take away a struggle there in the beginning of the fourth quarter, a 7-0 run, and they might run away with this one. But Dort, I've been the chief, like, Dort hasn't been playing good guy on the podcast. I'll own it. That dude played his damn ass off tonight. And let me tell you something. They got up by 1. And everybody watching that game, everybody in that arena, everybody on NBA Twitter knew that Brandon Ingram was going to get that ball, was going to isolate, and was going to go to that little midi pull-up J. We've watched Dort do it against Dame. We've watched him do it against Jamal Murray. We've watched him do it against LeBron James. We've watched him do it against everybody. Add another one to the list. Locked him down. B.I. had like 3 or 4 straight midi pull-ups that were just butter.
Yep.
Leading up to that shot. And then Dort put him in the torture chamber, clamped his ass. Just incredible. So many different aspects of this game I want to talk about. We've talked about Josh a little bit. We mentioned Dort. We got to talk about Shai, who went into halftime with 7 points. 7.
That's what I was checking stats at dinner, and I was like, it was close, but Shai's stat line, like, not great Bob.gif. It had me nervous because this is exactly what we talked about on the preview, right?
Exactly.
One game, win or go home. Whose superstar can play better? And that wasn't Shai at first. But he turned it on big time.
I think he had to adjust to. I think the physicality right out of the gate was like a shock to the people to the young players on the team, and I think particularly the way they were allowing Herb Jones to guard SGA, and that level of physicality took him out of the game for a while. But credit to Mark, credit to SGA, they fixed it. They were putting SGA in more pick and rolls, getting switches onto guys like Jonas Valanciunas and CJ McCollum and just letting him cook. And eventually, once Herb Jones got more fouls, SGA went right at him again and again. He wasn't able to be as physical with him, and he started cooking Herb Jones too. So just fantastic way.
Yeah, I thought at the end of the second quarter, Silva, the Thunder went to a little set where they would have somebody set a pin down for Shai. Shai would come up. The man would screen Herb. Shai would come up, get the ball, and then be able to turn, survey, and attack. And then they got back to it in the second half for sure, and that's when Shai got cooking. In the fourth quarter, really interesting decision. And I don't know if someone's going to ask Mark this. I hope they will. They would get Shai the ball. Shai would be isolated one-on-one, and he had just been cooking Herb like the rotisserie chicken that Taylor's going to have to eat here soon. And the Thunder kept bringing a screen up, and the Pelicans doubled on every single screen. And the guys on the broadcast, like Jeff Van Gundy, man, God bless all of us for having to listen to Mark Jackson's ass for 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
But Jeff Van Gundy kept saying, like,
Jeff Van Gundy, he wasn't a great coach, but he's a better coach than he was broadcaster.
Look,
It was
Jalen
so
Williams
bad.
on this team.
There's two of them.
But he kept saying they need to isolate Shai. If you notice down the stretch in the fourth, they screened for Shai with Josh. That way, when the double came, Josh was the man that would short roll to about the free throw line and be the outlet. The Shai outlet, kick it to Josh. And then now you have Josh Giddey in a 4-on-3 in front of him with the ball at the free throw line with both sides to play make on.
And he made the play every single time. And I think back to, so I had this in my notes for Postgame 81. I'm not sure I necessarily mentioned it, but one thing that I found interesting was that they were flashing Josh Giddey to the high post. The Utah Jazz were using that trap, that matchup zone, right, against the Thunder. It was super effective, but the way they were able to beat that was by flashing Giddey to the high post and allowing him to play make. They tried to do that with Jay Will in both games. Honestly, the one I covered post game 81 and tonight obviously wasn't nearly as effective. But when they brought Giddey up there, like you said, Jacob, to be able to be that roller, that playmaker, when Shai is coming off those screens, I very effective. And the fact that Giddey was able to play make from that position, whether it was driving to the rim, making shots, drawing fouls, or finding the open person like Silva mentioned earlier. I mean, that's just huge for this Thunder team, and opened so much more for Shai in the second half.
Silva, you were the one that brought up Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
We got to talk about how he almost beat Josh Richardson's ass.
Oh my God. That was
awesome.
The moment where my living room got the loudest, I think, until near the end of the game. Just because I haven't seen that from Josh to that level before, I don't think. And especially being in this setting in a hostile crowd that kept just booing and saying, "Ref, you suck." Just a hostile environment. And I loved seeing Josh get that heated. Loved seeing Jay Will immediately be there to hold him back. And that just seems like Jay Will seems like that guy, like the guy to keep you from making a bad decision. It was awesome. I think he said, I was able to read Josh's lips. He said, like, "Don't do that bullshit again."
Yeah.
From afar. It's so cool. And then Josh Richardson sat out the rest of the game until like the final possession.
Josh got that dog.
He got the dog.
He got that dog in him. And I ain't talking no little, like, he's got that pit bull, that Great Dane. I mean, Blaine says Josh from Australia. He's seen spiders bigger than that guy. So
that would be
diving a little more into this game. We talked a lot about could the Thunder make the Pelicans go small, match the small ball. They didn't. Jonas Valanciunas tonight, 30 minutes, 7 of 9 from the field. The dude went 16 and 18 and was still a -6, which is wild. Why am I forgetting the name of the guy who was a late scratch?
Larry Nance.
Larry Nance Jr. was a late scratch tonight, which led to Jackson Hayes playing 18 minutes. Pretty surprising that they put him out there. He has not been in the rotation. They decided to throw Kira Lewis Jr. out there, and that lasted about 5 minutes. And Willie Green said, "Whoops, shouldn't have done that." Pulled him back out.
To be fair, they don't match that with and I love Lindy, but Lindy Waters minutes early on, which is very strange considering how well I thought Wiggins played again tonight, and he continues to just prove that over and over and over. And for whatever reason, and sorry to completely derail us here and take us down another rabbit hole, but why would you not put Wiggins there in there instead of Lindy? I kind of thought that was a similar situation to, like you said, Jacob Willie Green putting Kara Lewis in instead of probably more capable players for New Orleans.
Is that like mind games from Mark? Like, oh, you think Wiggins is coming in, but here's a little rotating revolving
And
door.
maybe he also put him in alongside Isaiah Joe. So trying to space the floor.
I think that was a big part of it. If they're going to double Shai, let's get shooters out there.
But you also hope to have that defensive capability that Wiggins provided once he did come back in for Lenny Waters. And I don't know. It seems way too obvious for Dignant to not have done that earlier on. But regardless, he compensated in the second half, and we didn't see any Lenny Waters. So probably our answer.
Justin, I know you only got to stream like the last 30 seconds of this game on your phone, but Shai, Josh, and Dort combined 8 of 8 for free throws in the clutch during the fouling game where the Pelicans were just grasping for life, hoping that something would go right for them. Just thoughts on Giddey can't buy a beer until preseason. Next season. Like, that's how young he is. Dort and Shai, like, they haven't been in the postseason since Game 7 of the bubble that had 0 fans in attendance, not a whole bunch of folks from New Orleans screaming at them. And to be that young, to go 8 of 8 at the free throw line in that clutch of a situation. Can you just talk a little bit about what you've seen from these kids?
Children playing competitive basketball in a high-stakes game on the road and delivering. And I think, like, it's bananas when you actually look at the stats that those 3 put up, but not just the stats, delivering in those high-pressure moments, the free throws at the end. This team is unfazed. And this is something that, like, it feels really good right now. Just one game, a play-in game, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal. But this is what we've been talking about for 2 years now. Those moments where the Thunder were in games, maybe they don't win, but they're in those competitive situations late in games where they had those experiences of feeling what it was like to play in those tight contests, of knowing what it's like to have to execute down the stretch when the pressure's on. Those moments came to fruition tonight. The Thunder did not look like the second youngest team in the NBA in all of the 30 seconds that I watched. They looked poised and composed. But I think when, like, watching the highlights and hearing Scott Van Pelt talk about it, which is the extent of my analysis tonight, that they played with composure. And I think we've seen that so many times this season. This team plays older than they are. They play more composed. They don't get rattled. Like when Brandon Ingram was starting to hit a few shots down the stretch, when Jonas Valanciunas hit the wide open 3 in the corner late in the fourth, many young teams might fold, especially on the road. But this team fought back because Thunder never say die, much like the Goonies. And I think that was on full display tonight.
Definitely. I think you hit on the head. They didn't get rattled, like, ever. They kept it cool. They always fought back. Just incredible performance, dude. Like, I don't know how I'm going to go to bed tonight. I'm not sleeping. I want to talk about Jay Will. Played a lot of minutes due to Jonas Valanciunas playing a lot of minutes. Struggled early. I mean, got abused early. I mean, Valanciunas was ripping rebounds off the rim over Jay Will's head, getting putbacks. I was really worried. I was like, you can't play Jay Will in this game. He ends up being a game high plus 20 tonight. He had 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting. He only went 1 of 7 from 3. 8 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists for Jay Will. I thought as the game went on, he got more comfortable with what he needed to do and more comfortable with the environment and really started to play a lot better. I mean, 1 of 7 for 3, and a lot of them were open. He shot 40% on the year. Now, small sample size. It's his first year in the NBA. It's the first time he's really shooting volume threes in a season. If he goes like 3 of 7, it's a completely different ball game. You know, some of those would have really been like tide turners for this team. I was down on him early, but man, he performed incredibly down the stretch, walling guys up, communicating defensively, getting timely rebounds. I thought he really battled inside with Valanciunas in that second half, really made a lot of plays, was really good.
Yeah, I totally agree. He definitely got better as the game went on, understood how he could impact the game more. I thought it seemed like he really amped up his mobility and the way he was moving around the court and getting involved in different actions more and more and more, just to keep Valanciunas kind of on his toes, and just to kind of be a constant pest, because he is quite a bit faster than Valanciunas. He's not quite as plodding. He took advantage of those short roll options to make the right pass whenever SGA would get caught up in a blitz. And really impressed by him, even though he missed shots, hit a big one late. Was really happy that one went in for him.
Yeah, that 3. Hey,
yeah,
that stupid ass Kareem-esque sky hook
out of nowhere.
Are you kidding? I've never seen him shoot that shot before.
Nope.
And my man just said, whoop.
Hey,
cut across the lane and throw this crazy shot, and it goes in.
Hey, SGA took the threes out of his bag, took some more threes tonight because he knew he needed them for the playoffs. Jay Will took the sky hook out of his bag for these playoffs.
Shai 2 of 5 from 3 tonight. I never said anything, and I wish I would have. And now it's going to sound like I'm trying to give myself credit for something I didn't do. But if you looked at, so guys like Clemente, like Daniel Bell, I forget who else has been at Thunder practice these past couple of days, but they tend to like take videos of the guys shooting around after practice. And every time Ryland Stiles has been doing this as well. Every time they film those guys, and they've been filming Shai the past 2 days, post practice, Shai has been working on catch and shoot threes. And I was just like, that's kind of strange. Like, he doesn't shoot a lot of threes. I wonder if part of their game plan is to get him to shoot more threes against New Orleans to pull the defense out of the lane a little bit more. And he shot 5 threes tonight, which is probably the most threes he's shot in a whole damn game this season. But just an interesting little wrinkle. I wonder if we will see that again. Because, gentlemen, we got another one in 2 nights.
My God. Jacob, who's it against?
Play the sounder. As much as I hate Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
Is he going to play?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, but he's...
I think so.
Like
I want him to play. I think they're worse when he's on the floor.
Yes.
Offensively, they're not as good.
Dude, at least we get to use that Minnesota preview video.
We
do. Content HQ.
We do. Hey, we haven't mentioned it yet, but there's a huge shout out to the Thunder for reaching out to us, letting us come hang out at Thunder HQ, record those videos. If you haven't yet, go to the YouTube channel and watch those shorts. I think they're incredibly done. Justin was a wizard with the video editing. Just an awesome opportunity for us. We had a blast at Thunder HQ recording. So really, really good time. I could talk about this game for hours. Like, so much awesome stuff. We haven't mentioned J-Dub, who didn't really have a great night. 4 of 14, 0 of 5 from 3. I felt like he had so many opportunities to really kind of put this thing away and just couldn't hit shots. I wonder what that will look like for him going into Friday. Hopefully a bounce back game. I thought Saric came in and played good minutes. And then his second stint didn't play as well. He got 11 tonight. We mentioned Lindy with 5. Isaiah Joe, 19 minutes, only 3 points, 1 of 5 from the field. You hope he can find his stroke going into Friday. Wiggins with 14 minutes tonight had 7 points on 2 of 3 from the field, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. I would assume he gets more minutes because they kind of ran the starters kind of in the dirt tonight. 41 for Shai, 42 for Josh, 40 for J-Dub. Lou Dort, only 36. Let's circle back to him real quick. Did Taylor just unmute and fart?
That was my phone. Everything is fine.
And that's what I would say if I just busted ass
I would've
live on
owned
the
up to
YouTube
that.
stream.
Was the Dort stuff the jaw?
Yeah, see, he didn't come back for a while after that
Yeah.
elbow, and I was worried that he had a concussion because he left with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the third and didn't come back until like 7 or 8 minutes in the fourth, which was a long rest for him tonight, especially on a night where he really had it going. I was really concerned. I don't think they would have put him back if he was showing concussion-like symptoms. So I think we're good there. But, dude, he got KO'd.
He did.
Like,
he got booed
that
while he was on the
replay
ground.
was gnarly.
Yeah,
And they still called a foul on him, too.
they did. Poor guy. Why was that a tech and not a flagrant? Like they
I
called
don't
that-
understand that.
No. Strange play.
Don't understand it at all. Hopefully he'll be good to go for Friday. What else do
How
we
do
need to
y'all-
talk about? Oh, go ahead.
How do y'all feel about the rotations? Like, does it match what you expected? Any surprises?
I felt great about it. Outside of the early Lenny Waters minutes, like I just do not understand why Wiggins doesn't get those minutes. And then again, he didn't really. I don't think he subbed for the entire second half. And so, like I understand tightening the rotations in the second half and not going to your bench quite as much, but I continue to be really just confused by they don't lack of trust in Wiggins. I'm curious your guys' thoughts as well.
I thought part of the Wiggins not getting as many minutes as I thought was due to foul trouble. He picked up 3 in the first half pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The third being on Brandon Ingram. I remember that play vividly. So I wonder if that had a little bit to do with it. But as far as just the rotations are concerned, that's kind of what I thought. If you would have told me they're going to throw Lindy in there for 5 minutes and see what he can do, I would have said, okay. If you said they're going to play Saric for 11 and Jay Will for 32 because Jonas is going to play 30, I would say, yeah, that makes sense too. And if you told me they're big 4, they're going to run 40 plus, yeah. Isaiah Joe didn't
Makes
have
sense.
the stroke going, so he only got he got 19. I think if the shot was going, he would have got more minutes. I was actually kind of interested. I had tweeted it from the account. When Valanciunas rolled his ankle late and he subbed out and they brought Jackson Hayes in, I was kind of interested in if they would go small and put Dub at the 5 and guard Jackson Hayes. Jackson isn't nearly as like stout as JV is. Let Dub guard Hayes and then bring Isaiah Joe back in just to space the floor and have another perimeter defender back out there. Ultimately decided not to do that. But I wondered if they would because I felt like that would have been a good matchup. Besides that, though, I felt like the rotations were about what I expected.
If anything, I expected less J Will and more Wiggins, but that would be it. I figured
That was my one question. I was following y'all's conversation in the Slack and seeing tweets and things like that, and it seemed like he had a big 3 late, but didn't have a lot of great minutes throughout the night. But J Will gets 32 minutes. That felt kind of high.
it felt
Do
like
we think
Mark,
it? Go ahead, Silva.
it felt like Mark was just trusting him and letting him play through his mistakes.
Yeah.
Honestly, which
Do we think it looks similar on Friday?
Such an interesting question. Are we ready to transition to looking forward a little bit?
yes.
Let's do it.
Like you said,
Because
there's so much to talk about with
I'll
this
be
game.
unpacking this game.
But
in
yeah,
Yeah.
we
for a
gotta
while.
look forward.
I don't think we're gonna have time to churn out a pod Thursday.
Yeah.
So we're doing this one and then we're doing Friday. After they win again, and we have a 7-game series with 2 games in OKC.
2 games over a weekend period, which will be amazing.
If they
Amazing.
actually win Friday and they get games, if they're 1-1 with Denver, I'm looking way too much in the future. if they're 1-1 with
We
Denver
are.
and bring it home for a game 3 on a Friday night
Oh
at
my
a 9
God.
p.m. tip, I mean,
Bananas.
they're going to allow murder in the Paycom Center. I'm going to stage dive out of Loud City. Like, it's going to be insane.
gonna be awesome.
Monster blimp is just going to start crashing into the fans. It'll be wild.
Someone's going to try to ride it. Like, people are going to be insane. It's me. I'm
Absolutely.
people. I'm people. I will
I'm
be going
people.
insane.
I honestly though, like Pelicans Arena didn't look great before the game, but it looked like a great environment
Not at all.
later.
Yeah, they picked
Raptors, like I forget what they call it, Jurassic Park or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
always legit. Hey, calm down, Logan. But seeing that stuff
It's
and
our
then
best
combined with
quality post game. Okay, Justin and I will
Listen.
be back to our normal form here on Friday. Everything's fine.
I am in Chicago. I was at a bar watching a good chunk of the second half of the Bulls Raptors game with like Bulls fans going nuts. And it got me so excited for that potential. Again, looking ahead, getting ahead of ourselves. Minnesota is very much in the way, but getting that opportunity back in Oklahoma City, like it's going to be phenomenal. And it just feels amazing to be back in those kind of games of consequence again, because tonight, I mean, we were sending messages in the Slack, like we haven't had this feeling in a long time. It's very different than lottery stress.
I was standing
And
for
it
most
was
of
back.
the second half.
Yeah.
Standing
right.
I'm like,
Dude,
I think I tweeted that out. Like, I'm not sure I'm going to sit the entire second half. Then at one point, I tweeted I wasn't going to tweet at all in the fourth, and I tweeted a couple times after that. But
that Dort defensive possession on BI down the stretch, like I couldn't sit. I felt like I couldn't stand. I felt like I don't know. I just walked around the living room with my hands on my head. Like
we haven't mentioned the clutch shots SGA hit at the very, very end of the game.
Dude, that one where he drove in on the left side, leaned in. We said we're going to move on to the Minnesota game. We're not done yet. Drives in on Herb, kind of leans in, and then takes like one step in, one step out, and kind of starts falling back and hit. I mean, the literal definition of a fadeaway. He shot that ball like a split millisecond before his foot touches the ground. Just feathery as hell. He was on one in the second half. I said he had 7 points in the first. Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong. 17 in the third?
17 in the third. And then honestly had another quiet fourth quarter. But there in the end just came up clutch every single time. And then one thing, Jake, that you and I were talking about, and again, I know it's funny because we said that we might be transitioning to the Minnesota game coming up here on Friday. But one thing about Shai that you and I were texting about there, Jacob, is he struggles so much offensively, like to the point that I thought Herb Jones actually took him out of the game mentally in the first half, which was maybe even more critical than him just being able to play his own game physically in the first half. But he was still engaged defensively, and that really set the tone for the team, I think, from the very beginning. That carried all the way through the fourth quarter, and that was just so impressive. And I don't think that can be overstated how great he was defensively throughout the entirety of the game.
There were some possessions where I felt like it wasn't that Shai was like taken out of the game or like affected by Herb that much, but Herb was face guarding him. So Shai would just like pull him out to 35 feet and then let Josh go work.
Yep.
It's easier to play 4-on-4 basketball offensively than it is to play 5-on-5. You
Great
pull that
point.
extra defender out. I don't know if that was like what they were doing or if that's just me like trying to cover up for Shai having a bad half. But he came out second half and I mean he did Shai stuff. The entire timeline, all the national people on my timeline just tweeting like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander him and stuff like that, like just going nuts. Like I think he's a lock for first team All NBA. The ballots are already in. but I forget who it is. Somebody has a spreadsheet where they're tallying up all the national folks who have made their votes public. And there's not a lot of guys that have laid out their first team All-NBA, but the ones that have, Shai is the leading guard right now.
And those voters are sitting at home just nodding and smiling in approval for their vote. They made the right vote.
100%. All right. Justin, I think we can – oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and not to try to force us to transition to Minnesota again.
Well, that's what I was going to do anyway. So
Minnesota's best shot of shutting down said All-NBAer.
Broke his hand in frustration
Unbelievable.
in a tunnel, punching a wall. You hate
like
folks.
How big?
Don't fight a wall. The wall wins.
Cancer, fighting a chair. You know what happens to the best of us.
Hey, you know what?
Who guards SGA?
Dort would win the fight against the wall. Dort would kick the wall's ass.
That's exactly
like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
JD, that's a good question. There's so many interesting personnel questions we need to approach right now. Who guards Shai for Minnesota? If Rudy is back, is J-Dub guarding Karl Anthony Towns and J. Will guarding Rudy? Is Dort guarding Karl Anthony Towns and just trying to be physical as hell? Lots of really interesting cross matches in this one if Rudy plays. But Justin, I mean, the big glaring thing for Minnesota is Jaden McDaniels not being there. I think Jaden McDaniels is a Herb level defender, and not having him is massive. Minnesota lost to the Lakers, but in overtime, and they shot the piss out of the ball. You hope they regress to the means a little bit. But then you look at a guy like Ant went, 1 of 17?
3 of 7.
That's what I was just going to say.
4 of 9 from 3. And people are saying that he had a really hard fall in that game and could be dealing with some kind of shoulder injury now.
Shoulder. Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's
who do they put on Shai?
I mean, is it Conley or Torian Prince or Ant? I don't know.
Now, Torian Prince got the LeBron job on, what was that, Tuesday.
Because of the length. I could see it being Ant just because of the aggressiveness and the physicality.
Ant's given up a little bit of height, though, so I'm okay with that as a Thunder fan.
Agreed.
They don't have nearly as many Ants.
It's kind of similar to Herb, right? Like, I think that's kind of why they go with Ant there. But that leaves so many more opportunities for these other guys. Like we saw tonight, step up, Giddey, the Dorts, even J-Dub, to be completely honest. I think this is a really big opportunity for J-Dub to be able to kind of show his impact offensively where he wasn't able to as much tonight. I think this will be a really big game for him as well. So I don't know. I think Ant will get that matchup, though, against Shai, just based off, like you guys mentioned, obviously McDaniels not being able to play. That's a pretty big win for OKC.
Yeah, I could see Ant or Tarian Prince. What's interesting
Neither
is
of those scare me.
Josh really took advantage of smaller guys on him today. I wonder if Minnesota goes with Kyle Anderson on Josh Giddey, put some size on him.
Slow-mo.
Which great idea.
That would leave Tarian Prince for Dub and probably Mike Conley for Dort. Unless Tarian Prince or I guess Kyle Anderson wouldn't start if Gobert is back. Their starting lineup, if Gobert is back, is Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Ant, I assume Tarian Prince, and then Mike Conley. So somewhere on the offensive end, the Thunder will have a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
If Rudy guards J. Will, which we think he will, that means that Cat has to come out to the perimeter to probably guard J-Dub. And J-Dub's going to have to utilize his athleticism to get downhill and be aggressive and collapse that defense.
That's a crazy matchup.
Yeah.
Very much so.
On the other end, it's also very difficult, right? And I think, I mean, you guys, the listeners, will see this in our YouTube short that we'll post on YouTube and all the social channels. But it's a clash of styles. Can the Thunder get Minnesota to go small? I think that's a huge aspect of this game.
I was wondering that as well. And Jacob, like I think about Valanciunas having such a critical impact there in the first half for the Pelicans. How does that look like when you have Cat and Rudy Gobert? Like, what do you have to do as Mark Daigneault and this Thunder team to be able to? I mean, obviously, you're trying to get them to come outside and commit to some of those offensive players on the perimeter, but it worries me a little bit when we saw how I think critical Valanciunas was for the Pelicans tonight down low.
Offensive rebounds scare me against Minnesota.
And 7 chance points.
Yeah. On the other end, though, I think part of your offensive game plan has to be put Gobert in ball screens because he plays drop coverage every time. He can't guard out on the perimeter at all. If you can get a switch or if you can get Rudy to drop, you're going to get Shai mid-range pull-ups all game long. And that is something I am very, very comfortable with.
It's like one of his favorite shots.
But we also saw Shai settle for 3-point shots in the first half when that was kind of the Pelicans response to that. So I worry a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't know how much it was settling for threes as taking what the defense gives you, and he was 2 of 5. I mean, if Shai ball screens result in Rudy going under every single one or dropping on every single one, I'm fine if Shai wants to take 8 threes on Friday night. I mean, if Rudy doesn't want to come out there and Shai's getting semi-open looks, pull. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will say that if there were going to be 2 big men that I wanted to play against in this case, from a mentality standpoint, it would be both of them. Valanciunas is a guy that truly imposes his will and will force his way down low and truly take advantage of the size that he has. In that Lakers-Minnesota game, they put Austin Reeves on Cat for several possessions late in that game, and he didn't do anything. He settled for a 3. And so I feel optimistic there. You can put a guy like Dub on Cat, I think, like you said earlier, and I think that is fine, honestly. And then Rudy is not as skilled in the post offensively as Valanciunas. So I don't know. I guess the rebounding is the biggest concern. Rebounding and just kicking it back out to someone more capable on offense.
I agree.
But yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Man, if Rudy takes 15 shots, it's probably a win.
That's great. Yeah.
You want to funnel the ball to him. If Rudy wants to post up, who were they playing whenever Rudy hit that turnaround 12-footer and the opposing bench all just went?
Was it like Brooklyn?
I'm struggling to remember who it was, but if you can get Rudy shooting the ball,
great.
You're in a great space, right? I don't feel like either of the Minnesota bigs are as physical as Jonas was tonight. And that makes me feel pretty good.
I think we were all right. We were all aligned. We would have rather had Minnesota than New Orleans in the play-in.
Yeah, with McDaniels.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was way more. Yeah, totally. I'm way more worried about this team prior to the incidents that occurred on Sunday. Obviously, still going to be tough. Thunder's still playing on the road. Thomas in the chat calls out, if Dort has this kind of game again, they win. I think that's going to be huge. Dort playing the best, if not probably one of the best games on the road this season. They're going to need a contract. Shai's going to be Shai, especially with McDaniels out. Giddey can have a great game because I don't think there's any excellent matchups. But guys like Dort, I think J-Dub has an opportunity.
Especially after tonight.
He didn't dazzle tonight like we've seen so many times. Makes totally valid. Think of how young he is. Think of the experience of the situation, all that kind of stuff. Maybe the second go round, he's a little more. The nerves are a little bit more calmed. But I think winning 2 in a row on the road is what makes this so tough. It's not just the Minnesota game. It's the context of you just had a big, very emotional win in New Orleans, and now you got to turn around and go duplicate it.
Yeah.
If they beat Minnesota,
a Minnesota team who's going through all kinds of I guess
Right.
turmoil maybe is the right word. I
Turmoil,
don't know,
yeah.
but you
They're
raise a
going to
good
be
point,
very
Justin.
emotional too.
Right.
But then if you do get through that, I feel they could get demolished in the first game of the playoff game. Like if you survive this, like it's gonna be such an emotional roller coaster
Mhm.
that if they do make it in the playoffs, like that's gonna be tough. Like, okay, let's go do 2 more road games
Yeah.
in a crazy environment.
But hey, what an excellent experience for these kids going into next year.
True.
Totally.
You know,
Already.
Absolutely.
Even just tonight, if nothing else, tonight and Friday, no matter what else happens, again, great experience.
The
Definitely.
Pelicans have always been a tough matchup for OKC. With the OKC has a ton of positional size, and you need a lot of guys like that on the other side to guard them. And they have we say McDaniels will be the guy who could guard SGA. They have like 3 Jaden McDaniels on the Pelicans in Herb, BI, and Trey Murphy. That's just tough for a guy like J-Dub who has generally been able to impose himself on smaller guys or blow by larger guys all season. But they have just a very unique blend of tough, rangy defenders on New Orleans. I don't think the Timberwolves have that, and that's ultimately why I wanted to play the Timberwolves in the first place. But yeah, like Justin, 2 wins in a row on the road, tough.
now if Rudy plays, it changes the rotation a little bit. But for the record, Minnesota had their starting 5 against the Lakers, played 4 guys off the bench, but Knight only played 2 minutes, so that doesn't even really count. The other 3 guys were McLaughlin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Jalen Noel.
I feel good about that bench.
Naw
That
had
maybe-
11, and Jalen Noel had 9. And those were their only bench points. Now, it's 20 bench points. That's good when you scored 102 points. But and the Lakers have the bigs to really go up against Minnesota. But in an overtime game, Minnesota scored 102 points with 5 extra minutes. It wasn't until those Mike Conley 3 free throws with 0.1 second left on the clock that got them into double-digit scoring in the fourth quarter.
Right. And I think you bring up a really good point about bench players and bench points. I'm looking at the Thunder tonight. 4 points from Saric, 7 from Wiggins, 3 from Isaiah Joe, and 0 from Lenny Waters. And that was the rotation, which I think you were spot on when you tweeted about the playoff rotation or potential playoff rotation from Daigneault last week, Jacob. And so, I mean, that's going to be critical for this Thunder team. I feel like it's somebody, whether it's Sarge, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, they're going to have to step up big. I would not be surprised
For
if
sure.
we don't even see like a Lenny Waters.
Yeah, but I think the Thunder bench matches up really well with what the Minnesota bench throws out there.
We'll be throwing out there.
They pull
Right.
out Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm cool with Isaiah Joe guarding him. I'm cool with Aaron Wiggins guarding him. Same with those. Like the Minnesota bench is primarily guards. You know, so I feel pretty good about that. There's no one on that bench that like really strikes fear in my heart. Mike Conley was 6 of 7 from 3 in that Lakers game. You can't let something like that happen. You have to close out on 3-point shooters. Minnesota ended that Lakers game 39% from 3, hit 16 of 41. Looking here, Cat was 2 of 4, Conley 6 of 8, Anderson 2 of 5, Taurean Prince 4 of 7. You just got to close out on shooters. And I thought for the majority of the game tonight, the Thunder rotated really well. It drove me crazy that they cheated off of Trey Murphy so much and got him going early. But readjusted in the second half. I thought the second half defense by the Thunder was phenomenal.
Agreed.
I thought they did such a good job. And you're going to
speaking
have to
of three-point-
replicate that. And I think they learned their lesson tonight of how hard you have to hit the glass.
Agreed. Looking at that 3-point percentage for tonight, kind of insane. If I told you that the Thunder won a playing game shooting only 29.7% from 3, you would probably call me crazy. But the Thunder shot 11 of 37 from 3 tonight compared to the Pelicans 9 of 28.
Say those
Wild.
stats one more time.
11 of 37 from 3 for the Thunder. That's 29.7% from 3. The Pelicans shot 9 of 28. 9 and 28, 32.1% from three.
So the Thunder actually outscored the Pelicans from 3
Yeah,
by 6. Hey,
weirdly enough. But man,
I will take it.
it wasn't great, but it'll do.
Yeah. Who is the one guy that has to have like a really big game Friday? Like exclude Shai. We know that like Shai is the beating heart of this team. One guy that has to go off for the Thunder to win Friday in Minnesota and make a legitimate playoff appearance.
So tough. It's a lot of options.
Feels like J-Dub because, I think Giddey's going to be fine again, but I don't know if we can count on Lou Dort to have a night like that again. So J-Dub to me is the choice there.
I like that reasoning. Justin?
Is it weird to say Šarić?
No.
He didn't play a lot of minutes tonight, and based off the conversation around J. Will and given the lineup differences with Minnesota, I feel like 11 is not going to be his number against Minnesota. I feel like that number should be higher, and I feel like those minutes are going to be important for his contributions to the team. Again, like pretty far down the bench. I'm not talking some of the tops of the roster on this one, but I feel like Šarić minutes, how he defends bigger bodies, what he can do on the offensive end too to diversify and take attention off of guys like Shai and J-Dub and Giddey. I think it could be a sneaky, impactful player for that game.
It's a good one. I mean, obviously cheating here. When I look at the box score for tonight, Lou Dort, 27 points, Josh Giddey, 31 points. That is so, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the complete opposite of what we've seen from this team throughout the entirety of the season. So I think like the real answer here, and again, it's a cheat, but like everyone. I know, but that's not going to happen again. Lou Dort's not going to have 27 points. Giddey was, I mean, this is my favorite Giddey game, honestly, maybe ever, much less this season. That being said, if I had to pick one player, I'm going to go to another bench player, Justin. I'm going to go Isaiah Joe. Only had 3 points tonight, 1 of 5 from the floor. But I see Giddey having a solid stat line, obviously not a 31-point game. I see Lou obviously having another solid stat line, probably more so on the defensive end of the floor. I think it's going to come down to bench points. This is something we mentioned earlier on the podcast. And when it comes to the bench points, I think Isaiah Joe is going to be is going to need to lead the charge there. The Thunder are going to be able to beat the Timberwolves. So give me Isaiah Joe. I would like to see him be more efficient and hopefully get some more open opportunities. I want to say more aggressive because I don't want him just like, firing as soon as he touches the ball.
He didn't get really
more opportunities for him.
Tonight.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna go with J. Will. He's gonna be battling Rudy on one end. I just mentioned it on the other end. Rudy plays drop coverage. He doesn't like to get away from the paint, which means there will be a lot of pick and pop options or J. Will spacing options to catch and shoot threes. He was what did I say? One of seven. One of seven tonight.
A few more booms.
If he can get back to his average, if he can go 3 of 6, 3 of 7 on Friday night, I'm feeling pretty good. If he, 8 and 8 tonight is pretty awesome. If he can, I don't expect him to have 8 assists again, but if he can battle and get like 8 rebounds and go for like, instead of 8 points, like 13 points and hit a couple more threes, it is really going to stress that Minnesota defense to where they either have to rotate a lot more and it's going to open up driving lanes, or it's going to pull their bigs out of the paint, which is going to open up backside cuts. Is going to open up, a swing and a J-Dub drive or a Shai drive that don't have those rim protectors down there. I think J. Will is going to be a pretty big contributing factor Friday night.
That's a fascinating. That's the fascinating matchup there, right? Jacob is the Timberwolves bigs being able to battle down low in Cat and Rudy Gobert, but being able to pull them out to the perimeter on the offensive side. Sorry.
Taylor's farting again.
I'm farting
Dang
again.
sound effects over there. Manual
On the
soundboard.
offensive side of the ball. I think that's going to be fascinating. And thinking about Jay Will, something you mentioned, Silva, something you mentioned, Jacob. I think of my little sister-in-law. She will be turning 8 in May, but when she was little, it was fireworks. She called booms. She'd say boom, and then she'd say another boom, and then when the finale would go off, big boom. We need some big booms from Jay
Big
Will
booms.
to be able to space the floor out, bring those bigs from Minnesota out to the perimeter. And I think when you only have like one quote unquote big like Jay Will, and you're playing like a J Dub or a Aaron Wiggins off the bench there in that position, I think it's going to be huge when the Thunder those guys are able to move off ball so well. That's going to create so much offense. I think them moving off ball when you have creators like Shai, like J Dub, like Giddey. I think that's going to be really big in this matchup against the Timberwolves. Some things we didn't really see against the Pelicans tonight. So those are kind of some things I'm looking forward to as well.
All right, gentlemen. Before we get out of here, because we're not podcasting again until after the Timberwolves game, because I don't think Justin's going to podcast again in Chicago. I got to go see the Lord of the Rings in the movie theater tomorrow.
Hey,
yo.
It's going to be awesome.
Silva, your
Yeah.
prediction Friday night.
Give me a Thunder win. Do you want an exact score? Like
I want to
did in the
score. I want to score.
It's gonna be 111 to 96.
oh,
Okay.
Ooh.
I like it.
Taylor,
Ooh.
who wins and what's the score?
So I kind of feel like this one is going to be an L. The Thunder should win this one, which makes me feel like that is why they're going to lose. So give me the Timberwolves, unfortunately. 120 to 116. I think it's going to be very close down the stretch again.
All right, Justin.
Shun the non-believer. This is what's going to happen. The Thunder are going to get a superstar performance from Shai. They're going to get a well-rounded game from Josh Giddey. Maybe not as many points as tonight, but you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get another box of Tim Tams because this guy
I owe
has
you
left
4.
me like one stat point short of like 12 boxes of Tim Tams this season. Giddey's going to get a triple-double, and then we are going to be celebrating the Thunder heading to the playoffs as they win 109 to 106.
I love it.
Nice. Mine, Silva, play the sounder again. As much as I hate Rudy Gobert, I cannot live with myself if I let Rudy Gobert beat us in the second game of the play-in tournament. If Rudy Gobert denies me the playoffs, I'm with Justin. Shai got hot in the second half tonight, and people really started to notice him, like national media started talking about him. Give me the Shai 40 piece.
Oh,
Friday night.
I love
Like
it.
I think he's going to
Hey,
hook. I don't think
7
there's
points in the
anybody on
first
that
half.
team that can guard him. I think he is absolutely going to cook. Give me Silva. What was yours? Like 116 to 90 something?
111 to 96.
Okay, give me 116 to 108. Then they're going to get out in transition. They're going to make Cat and Rudy run. Rudy's going to have to do so much cardio, he might punch somebody else. I'm ready for it.
You bring up a good point. Shai had 7 points in the first half, right? 32 on the night. Scores 30 plus yet again. Leads all
25
guards
in the second
NBA.
half. We're going to continue that going into
Crazy.
Friday. Awesome. Hey, it's nearly 1 a.m. We got to get out of here. This stream was ridiculous. I wanted to go through questions, but there are too many damn questions to go through. We'd be here until like 3 a.m. because there's so many comments. It's stupid. The degenerates were degenerates once again. Absolutely love you guys. They degenerated. Absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, for hopping on late night with us. But we know you couldn't sleep either because the Thunder beat the freaking Pelicans in the play-in, boys.
Yes, sir.
Sam Presti talked a lot about an arrival. They're here. The plane has landed. It's nothing but uphill from here. Everything is awesome. We will be back with you Friday. Friday's going to be a fun day. We are going to hopefully watch Thunder win. Hopefully do a post-game winning podcast talking about the win. And then the three of us in Oklahoma City. I don't care what you other two say. We're going out to the airport. Maybe we'll buy some pizza, some uncontested pizza for the Thunder fans at the airport Friday night. Who knows?
Pizzas, hats, shirts,
stickers. We'll have everything. You guys have a great Thursday. Go to the office. Go to wherever your place of work is. Go to school and talk that trash. Rep your OKC gear. I got my old school SGA OKC shirt on today.
Classic.
Enjoy it, bask in it. Listen to all the podcasts tomorrow, all the national folks gushing over this team. They're going to love that Josh Giddey performance, I promise you. They're going to love that Dort performance. We will be back with you Friday night. Until then, as always, Thunder up!